Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Mual, Jamal Forrest. The fellas on the way, AJ and Dre. On the show today, we finally got the draft talk going on, man. First show of the month of April. You know what I'm saying? We got draft in 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. So we got Emory Hunt joining us, owner of the Football Gameplan. He speaks on football with CBS Sports and Sportsline as well. So he's gonna be joining us. He's gonna talk some NFL draft prospects in a little bit over 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes. He'll be joining us. So that'll be fun. If you are new to the channel, let's get the administrative items out of the way off the rip. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're on the YouTube side. If you're on the Twitter side, man, we appreciate you from working over there. I can see your comments. You can still be a part of the show. But if you want to show some love and help the channel grow on the YouTube side, try to migrate over there. Either way, as long as you watching the show, man, it's all good. Same thing on Twitch side. If you are new on Twitch, man, hit that follow button. Audio, same thing. Follow. Give us a rating and review, man. It takes 2 seconds to do it. We definitely appreciate it. I said seconds. Maybe talking too fast. I caught myself. I said seconds. But it takes 2 seconds to do it. So if you haven't done so already and subscribed or followed on the audio side, man, we definitely appreciate you doing that. Jay Tyler, Jay Tizzy, I see you in there, man. Will, what's going on? Yes, less than a month, man, for sure. So yeah, to start things, AJ, I see you. Let me know when you get situated. To start things, man, so we're going to bring back prospect profiles or prospect spotlights as well on the show. We did that just for a couple episodes last year, so we'll do it through the month of August leading up to the draft. But I have a question that was in my head going into. All right, bet. There we go. Going into what's going on, AJ? How you feeling, bro?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm all right, bro. I'm all right, man. It's a good week, man. We said we was going to get some draft guys on, and we got a week for these guys, man, for these ladies and gentlemen on the Trap or Dive channel. So I'm in good spirits right now, bro. I'm in good spirits. I was about to bring up a topic that I actually saw you tweet. What's today? Monday. So maybe it was Sunday morning, and I didn't know that this was a real thing. Like, I only responded to you because I was like, I don't know. Anyway, it's been a larger conversation about what's his name, Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco, and it was interesting to me because I saw you tweet that on Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it was, and it turned out like people were actually discussing this on the radio as well. So I'm just putting it out there for conversational purposes. First off, I think we're all in agreement here that Washington needs receiver help. Doesn't matter if it's draft or trade, they need a receiver. But secondly, how serious are we with this Ayuk deal? Now, when I say how serious are we, I'm talking about us as in like interest as a fan wanting to trade for Brandon Ayuk. I'm not talking about the Commander side doing anything. I know that there's contract talk situations over there in San Francisco that we have little information on. But we do know that sometimes receivers, and the way things are going now, you can be a little bit more vocal about what you want for your future, especially with that franchise tag looming. So, AJ, what do you think about this Ayuk thing? I saw you make that tweet. It just piqued my interest. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I knew going into
Mike is muffled a little bit too. Just want to before you even get started.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, so I would say I knew going into
All right, hold on, bro. Hold on, bro.
muffled again.
Now it's better. It's better again. right there. Wherever what you got going on, keep it right
It's
there.
good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so I knew going into the offseason that Brandon Ayuk was going to be in a contract situation. At first, I originally thought that he was a free agent, but that was my mistake. But yeah, it's kind of hard for the 49ers that, are strapped cap-wise to commit what they did to Deebo Samuel just last year and now turn around and provide Brandon Ayuk an extension of something similar payout-wise. Even though they can exercise his option, which would pay him $14 million, Brandon obviously wants to get paid now. He doesn't want to play on that option because anything is capable of happening. The quarterback could get hurt, he could get hurt, whatever. He wants to provide himself financial security. So it's always been something that's been lingering as far as like him possibly wanting out, and I think he's been pretty vocal in that on his social media platform. I think what happened is the increase.
Pause. I want you to finish, but is it that he wants out, or is he just frustrated that he doesn't have the deal yet? Like, what do you? Because it could be a difference.
I mean,
people get upset.
The key thing you want to get paid, but the likelihood of him getting paid in San Francisco is pretty non-existent because of the fact that they already have a wide receiver that they're paying premium dollars to. So committing the same amount of money to him is hard. You also got Brock Purdy that needs a new contract. Christian McCaffrey is going to need an extension. They're low on money in general. So it's kind of hard to make those things happen. That's why they've had to make certain moves and releases even this offseason, like Eric Armstead or whatever, or restructure the contract of Kyle Juszczyk. But what really picked up everything from a national standpoint is Brandon Ayuk ended up doing an interview with Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco.
I did see that one, yeah.
On Nightcap. And you could see he's like frustrated as hell. And he also doesn't understand how this is really going to work out. Like you could just see the frustration. I watched the interview live. I didn't expect him to be on there, but that's what he decided to do. He's just extremely frustrated. Of course, he wants to get paid. I don't think it really matters where he's at, but in his conversation with them, you can see that he wants to be, one of the vocal points of an offense. He wants to compete for a championship. He's still got a bitter taste in his mouth for what happened in the Super Bowl this year. But ultimately, he wants to secure his financial future for himself and his family. Like, I think he just had a kid not that long ago that's probably not even a year old. So I think that there is a realistic possibility that Washington could be in play to make that trade. As we know, with everything in life, relationships matter. Adam Peters has that relationship over there with San Francisco. He knows Brandon Ayuk pretty damn well. Brandon Ayuk knows him pretty damn well. His representation is athletes first. They are one of the top tier agencies in the NFL space. His agent happens to be who represented Josh Norman back in the day, Ryan Williams. So it's just one of those things. If Washington's going to pull the trigger, if I were personally calling the shots, if I was Adam Peters, hell yeah. Like, let me trade one of these picks this year or a future pick, 2025, something. I'm going to give Brandon Ayuk that contract because in reality, Terry McLaurin, you could move off from his contract next year. He's going to be 29 by the start of the offseason next year. Brandon Ayuk is only 26 years old. And if you plan on taking Jaden Daniels, that's also his former college teammate at Arizona State. So you already have a connection there, familiarity by bringing in Jaden Daniels to pair with Brandon Ayuk, and they're still pretty close. So I think that with how Kingsbury offense is, they run a lot of 10 personnel. You need as many wide receivers as you can get within the structure of the offense, because I don't give a damn what he tries to say publicly. he gonna be running the same shit that he ran at Arizona. Maybe it might
I don't
have a
know,
little
man, because
sprinkle to it, but the
if he
base
got
is
help,
gonna be that.
if he got help with all the people that came in, not the so to your point about the receivers, that's one thing, but about Cliff's side, I was like, if he got help with in terms of the people that they brought in, he may it may look a little different. Like I wouldn't close the book on it looking different. But I want to give we only got a few more minutes, bro. I want to give Dre the floor. First and foremost, man, what's going on, big dog? But then secondly, we just came in on a conversation where AJ had mentioned over the weekend about Brandon Ayuk. He was interested in Brandon. And given his contract situation in San Fran, we are just discussing the idea or interest from a fan perspective, not the team. But do you think it would make sense for Washington to make that move? And people in the chat, if y'all like Brandon or don't want Brandon, let us know how y'all feeling. But what's up, Dre?
Well, first off, I gotta ask: is there a legit link to Washington with Brandon Ayuk? I mean, I know this has kind of been fan driven, but has there been any links or anything that says Washington is interested in Ayuk or not?
I haven't seen that.
I mean, I definitely checked personally on my end, and there's interest.
Okay. Well, there's I like
interest,
Brandon.
There's interest from Brandon's side. Now, on the Washington side, I can't confirm on that, but from Brandon's side in particular, there's definitely interest. And for real, he wants to go to wherever he can, be in the best.
He want to get paid, right?
Be competitive and get paid. That's it.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, Brandon Ayuk is talented as hell, man. I definitely wouldn't mind, going after him. I would question the cost. I mean, I don't know what it would cost to get Brandon Ayuk. I think if it's a third, I'd definitely do that. I mean, you could pay him, get a third round. I mean, we're not struggling for cap. And as you mentioned, Terry, he's 29. Also, I think Terry's coming up on the end of his deal. I think it was a 3-year deal he signed. So I don't know if he has 1 or 2 more years left on that deal. So, I mean, yeah, you do need some kind of backup plan in place. But, I mean, I don't know if I think we are doing the prospect spotlights tonight. So I got a guy tonight that I want to talk about as far as the wide receiver position goes in this draft. Because I do agree with AJ. You need as many wide receivers as possible to give Cliff Kingsbury this offense. That's why I wouldn't be mad at an IU. Like I said, the only question I would have is, what's the compensation? And, because I don't mind paying him, because you'll probably get him for a 3-year deal. And I don't think Adam Peters is the type that'll put this team in a crippling situation by getting bent over in contract negotiations. So it'll be fine. But no, I mean, again, just to me, the trade compensation as far as the draft, I don't think I would give up a 2nd round pick for him, but I would do it for a 3rd round and maybe another late rounder in a heartbeat.
All right. We can spin the block as soon as we talk to Emory Hunt, draft expert. Let's go ahead and bring Emory on. Let's talk some draft prospects to get the situation set up. Boom, and there we go. Like I said earlier, as we started the show, Emory is the owner of Football Gameplan, and he talks some football for CBS Sports and Sportsline. Hey, Emory, man, what's going on with you, big dog? Appreciate you joining us.
I'm doing fine, man. I appreciate y'all bringing me on.
Hey, it's good, man. So last time we talked, I don't remember exactly all of our needs, but I know cornerback was a major focus at the time. There was 4 major cornerbacks that we didn't know what was going to be going. We didn't know the order where Washington was, and ultimately they ended up picking up the man Emmanuel Forbes. This year is completely different. They picked number 2. The world is their oyster. They have, outside of Caleb, because Chicago got the number 1 pick. But Emory, I'm gonna give you the floor and just let's kind of start with the quarterback position from a broad perspective and then narrow it down. What do you think about the crop of quarterbacks? And maybe let's just kind of do your top 5-ish, but however you want to take that. What do you think about the crop of quarterbacks coming out this year?
There are 2 quarterbacks that I feel like are worthy of 1st-round picks, and that's Caleb Williams and that's Jaden Daniels. And fortunately for Washington, you're sitting at pick 2, so you get your choice of one of the 2. Now, how I have my top 5, put together, at 3, I have Spencer Rattler, 4, Jordan Travis, and 5, I have Drake May. Jordan Travis and Spencer Rattler are guys that I wouldn't object if someone wanted to take those guys mid to late 1st round. I I feel like a guy like Drake May could kind of get put in that category, but I feel like he's more of a second round talent. I understand why Jordan Travis is not being talked about a lot because he got injured. Had he not gotten injured and had been able to play out the rest of the season into the postseason, and also in the postseason All-Star game circuit, and also, at the combine, we'll be talking about him as someone potentially going in that mix with Penix and May and all those guys like that, maybe even a little bit ahead of McCarthy. So he's someone you could probably get on day 3 based off how the situation has played itself out with his injury. But someone like Spencer Rattler, to me, is he's someone I think may find himself getting into late round 1 or definitely early day 2. But I would, if you're Washington, you're sitting in a good spot because you got your pick of either Caleb Williams or Jayden Daniels, depending on who goes first.
Well, shoot, let me jump in on that real quick, Emory, because I wanted to follow up and ask you, because that's a unique ranking list in the sense of the quarterbacks. But I definitely respect it because I'm a big Florida State fan, so I know how Jordan Travis is. I watched him all these years. I watched his growth. But for you, I mean, with that top 5, how would you categorize them as far as tiers go? Do you see them in certain tiers?
Well, I kind of outlined it where guys that I view as first round talents are Williams and Daniels, guys that I wouldn't object if you wanted to take them in round 1, in Rattler and also Travis, and a guy that, even if you wanted to push May in that conversation, I'd be a little bit hesitant, but May I feel like is a second round talent. And so that's how I see that's how I see my top 5. So really, obviously everyone's going to say, oh, you can get quarterbacks in. You got to you push them up. I feel like you got to, at some point, somebody has to buck the trend and stop that, because that's how you get Kirk Cousins getting paid all this money for doing basically nothing, because you got to pay a quarterback. Well, no, you don't. You pay good players. You play players that produce. You play players that have an impact. You don't pay a guy based off, well, this is what the going rate is at the position. And kudos for him getting paid, but stop drafting mediocre quarterbacks in round 1 and draft them where they're supposed to be drafted, and build your team out to where your team can be quarterback proof, i.e. what we've seen from San Francisco.
Hey, Emory, man, appreciate you joining us. One of the things that you mentioned so far in this conversation that I agree with is Drake May. We're seeing in the last 2-3 weeks a lot of conversation about Drake May and JJ McCarthy possibly being number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks being selected in this draft. Do you think that a lot of times these evaluators of these organizations fall in love with potential more so than what they've actually seen on film?
Yes, because you see this happen a lot where no football has been played, and guys are talking about so-and-so is flying up the draft boards or his stock is falling. Like, how, when no football has been played? So and guys do this all the time. Even with what we know about Brock Purdy, even with what we've seen from Brock Purdy, you're still not taking Brock Purdy in the top 5 of an NFL draft. I'm sorry. And so why do teams feel like they have to force a pick of a quarterback? And that's what really sets teams back, because we've seen a team in your division, the New York Giants, try to convince themselves over the last 6 years that maybe this guy is the guy who's got to get a little bit more help, instead of just being honest with themselves, like, we made a mistake, let's move on. So I feel like teams tend to do that, and that's why you see a lot of teams just kind of get hamstrung. And if we keep it in a whole buck, Tennessee need to go ahead on, and if you're sitting right there, somebody falls, if for whatever reason, Jayden Daniels falls, right? And he's there at 7. If you're Tennessee, you take him, because you need a quarterback too. And so at the end of the day, teams that are honest make those tough decisions and move on from players that they know are, guys that can't really help them win, are liabilities, and they get better. And that's what teams have to start doing. Otherwise, you're going to see consistently, teams just whiff at quarterback. And a lot of times, I've said this about all positions. No one player is that good. So you better have 53 good players on your roster, because if you're depending your hopes and dreams on one player, you're going to lose that game 10 times out of 10.
So, for just one thing,
quick little question. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Denver. Go ahead. You good?
Oh no, I was just gonna ask real quick. We hear a lot about Drake May and him being a project, like a lot of the other pundits out there, whether it be the Dan Orlovsky's, Chris Sims, Louis Riddick, or whatever, saying that he's a project and he probably needs to sit behind somebody. What's truly the difference between the potential of a Drake May and a Joe Milton out of Tennessee?
Athleticism. I feel like May is more of a fluid athlete, and so he's able to. He's more likely to take off and run, which I like about his game, because Milton sometimes get flat-footed in the pocket. He kind of sits there and just kind of stays flat. Plus, you look at the age. Milton has been in college for what, five years, I believe, 6 years. So he started games at Michigan, got benched, transferred to Tennessee, started there, got benched. Now he started again once Hendon Hooker graduated. So he's had the ups and downs, but there's a reason why he keeps getting usurped on the depth chart. Now for him, you like the pieces. If you lay all the pieces out on the table, you like those pieces of what he brings to the table. But together is just not as consistent. When I think of someone like Milton, I think you think of a specific scheme where he can work and operate, like heavy run game, play action pass, deep shot down the field. That's like his path to success. With Drake May, you have a little bit more wiggle room with, you can run your zone read because he's a threat to take off and run. He can push the ball a little bit with more consistency at the intermediate level of the field. He's young, so he still has room to grow. You feel like Milton is a little bit at his ceiling at his age, and May is not. So you still have that, okay, we can still kind of develop him and coach some things out of him and coach some things into him. Whereas Milton, you probably feel like what we're going to see, what we see and what we've seen is kind of what we're going to get because of his age.
So there's two things for me that's still kind of is rambling up here, right? So there's three quarterbacks that's been linked to Washington, not like formally or officially, but more so just in the space of like the Washington community, is Drake, Jaden, and JJ McCarthy, right? And JJ was outside of your top 5, and Drake was at 5 for you. Second round option for anybody. Is Drake two parts? Is Drake slipping, or did he go to the second round for you? Because I don't even know if he slipped. He's probably just right there. But is Drake for you a second round prospect more because of the developmental aspect, or is it something in particular where you're like, this isn't a number 3 overall draft pick? That's the first part, and then the second part is just about JJ. Why is he outside of your top 5?
Well, the first part is, yeah, you're dead on. Like, I don't see him as a top 3 talent. And maybe I'm a little bit biased, or based off how I view top 10 picks in the first round. I always use the 1989 standard, where you had Aikman, Dion, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas. Like, that's a top 5. Like, if you're not even sniffing that, I don't want to see you in the top 5. When you're saying top 5 talent, that's like plug and play, go, right? So that's why that's why I said, like, 2 guys I truly feel like first round talents. Jaden, Caleb. Everyone else, you start to like talk yourself and justify and why they should go wherever they go. As far as JJ McCarthy, he's kind of like the Brock Purdy in this situation. He has so much talent around him, no fault of his own. And I know people want to knock him for not throwing a lot, but I want people to look at it a different way. It's like when you had these triple option quarterbacks, right? And everyone said, well, they can't throw because they didn't throw. Well, how about this? If you're a quarterback in an air raid system and you're throwing the ball 40 times a game, you got the luxury of missing 15 passes, right? And still come out on top. But if you're throwing the ball 15 times, you better hit 13 of those passes. And when we ask you to throw, the significance of the throw matters more. So the fact that he only threw the ball, 15 some odd times a game or whatnot, the pressure on making those throws are significant. We've seen quarterbacks crumble under that pressure of, man, I got to make this throw. I got to convert this third down. He didn't, right? He kind of just did what he was asked to do. He did his job. He was 1 of 11, which you want your guys to do. Now, some people will say, well, okay, if he can do that, then we can ask him to throw it 40 times. Like, wait a minute. Now you get a little bit too above your skis on that one, where you're probably asking him to do something that he probably doesn't feel comfortable with, and he's probably not as skilled to do so. Maybe he's best on a pitch count. Maybe you get the most efficient and the best version of him on the pitch count. And because of all of those factors and reasons, that's kind of why I feel like he's a piece of the puzzle and not the entire puzzle.
And Emory, I guess I want to follow up on this with the Drake May thing, because I noticed there's 3 QBs in your top 5 that a couple of years ago we're probably not talking about the same way we're talking about them now, and that being Jaden, Jordan Travis, and Spencer Rattler. So with Drake May and JJ McCarthy, I mean, they're on the younger side. Do you think in the new Neal era or the transfer portal era where guys are playing longer is hurting the younger quarterbacks to come out kind of early instead of like staying longer, like the Jaden Daniels and the Spencer Rattlers, to kind of get that experience and more to clean up some of those flaws?
Yeah, that's a great point and a great question, because when you think about Spencer Rattler is a perfect example of that. Him and Jordan Travis, because Jordan Travis, you could see over the course of his starting experience, he goes from, man, is he really a quarterback or is he an athlete playing quarterback, to, all right, they're starting to slowly come around to, they need him out there in order to win. So he has taken those steps where it's like, wow, he got significantly better year in, year out. He talked about that at the combine. He said, when I first got to Florida State, I couldn't really hit a receiver to save my life, and now seeing what he is now and having that maturity to really reflect on that and grow, that's a quality in a starting quarterback, a pro quarterback that you want. For Spencer, I felt like he played a pro career already, because he came out guns a-blazing. Everybody was like, oh, just tank the rest of the season because you can get Spencer Rattler first overall in next year's draft, right? And then his sophomore season, it kind of was inconsistent. Then he ends up getting usurped by Caleb Williams. No fault in that. Dude ended up being a number 1 overall pick and winning the Heisman, right? So, and his numbers weren't bad, but the play wasn't good. So he kind of, started to, dwindle. Then he goes to South Carolina, and you see it don't start well for him. It didn't start well for him. And it's like, wow, Rattler really isn't that guy. Then the last 6 games of 2022, he turned it around, right? He started getting better. He beat Clemson in an upset. He beat Tennessee in an upset. And then he had a great game against Notre Dame in a bowl game. And then fast forward to this year, I thought he outplayed Drake May in the opener. They just didn't have the offensive line to really protect him, and that's how they lost that game. So even with the offensive line being in flux, he still was playing really well, building on what he did in 2022. So you kind of saw him go through the ups and downs, which we know that's an NFL season. And we saw that over the course of 4 years with him, 5 years with him. And the fact that he has gone from what everybody remember from Last Chance U to Oklahoma to South Carolina to now, it's like, and then he goes and win the Senior Bowl MVP. So it's like he had a great week down there in Mobile. You like that he had the time to really go through some things, develop, and come out on the other side of it positively. And to your point, Drake May didn't have that. Now, JJ McCarthy did that. I thought he did a great job, because the last time we saw McCarthy prior to this season, he was throwing pick 6 after pick 6 against TCU, right? And underthrowing deep balls down the field. This year, he was a little bit more cautious with the ball, a little bit more judicious in when he was going to take a risk, and he was a little bit more judicious in when he was going to take off and run. So he played a better situational game, which helped Michigan get all the way to the playoffs once again and finally cross that finish line and win a national championship.
So before we I don't know if anybody had any last things on quarterbacks, but my last thing on quarterback, I'm about to say I'm saying anything. So we talked about everybody beyond the first round or the bona fide first round guys. Let's have you talk your talk on Jaden and Caleb. What are their biggest strengths for you, And for Washington at number 2, I mean, I know we kind of know the answer, but why would they select X quarterback at number 2? What's the best thing that stands out for that quarterback, that prospect for Washington?
Let's say for Caleb Williams, he is someone that I can understand why people say he's closest to Patrick Mahomes, because he has that one quality that Patrick Mahomes has. Well, 2, he has the arm strength that Mahomes has, but he has the ability to have every option open. Like, if you may not even be in the, because a lot of times people don't understand, you may be in a route, but you're not in the progression. So it may be a 2-man concept where you got 2 guys on the other side just running routes, just kind of like, trying to pull coverage away. You're not even in the play. You're just running for the love of the game routes. And so with him, everybody's open because he's back there trying to buy time and scramble and buy time and buy time. And, I know you can't say that's a direct 1-to-1, all that scrambling and buying time. But the fact of the matter is, like, if you got 5 guys in a route, all 5 guys are open to him. As long as you break free, he's going to get you the football. And also, by the way, we saw this when he came in for Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. He took off and broke camp for about a 70-yard touchdown run. And he has that capability. He may be built like he doesn't have that capability, but that's another aspect of his game that he has. So he can do it well on both ends of offense. Jaden Daniels is another one that has that level of ability as a runner. And what makes him special is he has the one trait that I really like about a quarterback. He has that ability to lock in when, hey, man, this is a crucial drive. We need everything to go great. He's going to play he's going to raise his level of play. Think about back at Arizona State when they were playing a top 5 Oregon team that had Herbert on the other side. 17-year-old Jaden Daniels out there going toe-to-toe and was bringing them back in the ball game against Oregon, pulled off the upset with Brandon Ayuk, with Ricky Pearsall, with, all those guys that we're seeing now in the NFL playing. He was a true freshman, right? And then fast forward to last year against LSU. Had they had a defense, I mean, think about it. This was a team, people bring up the numbers this year and say, well, last year he didn't have this. He just had one good year because last year's numbers was okay. He had these dudes in the SEC title game with the worst defense in organized football. Like, they won the SEC West, and they were in that game against Georgia playing for a right to go to the postseason. So that's all because of Jaden Daniels and how he played last year. This year, same defense, same defensive problems, and went out there, and a lot of times, even in losses, it was like, wow, they would have got blown out had it not been for Jaden Daniels. They just ran out of time. So when you have that ability where you never feel like you're out of a game, and you can trust that the guy that controls the ball every play won't make the mistake, that's the type of guy you want as your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you when it comes to the Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams being the top tier guys in this draft. I hate to bring it up. I'm not a fan of the guy Drake May at all. But
he don't hate to bring it up.
We cover the Washington Commanders. This fan base loves mid-ass quarterbacks. So in wrapping this up with my last question to you, does Drake May's game collegiately remind you of Sam Howell when he was coming out entering the draft?
He reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert, who I wasn't a big fan of. And the one thing that you like about May's game that he does better than Herbert did, when you almost had to tell Herbert to run. May just took off, and he has that innate ability, which makes him more willing to take off and run, which is why I liked him more than Herbert. But the reason why I compared them to Herbert is because they both have those, like, they'll throw for a lot of yards, they'll throw for some touchdowns, but it never ends up resulting in team victories. So it's almost like a lot of empty calories, like a lot of iceberg lettuce.
Is it kind of like the Kirk Cousins syndrome?
Very much so. You'll see Kirk, what you'll see with Kirk Cousins, and that's why I was ripping Atlanta for them going out and getting the guy. And I'm like, well, yeah, the number's gonna look great. He'll go 28 for 34, 355, 3 touchdowns and a pick. But what they don't say is that pick was a drive killer as it was trying to come back to win the game. And he probably, in the midst of that, those numbers, took like 4 ill-advised sacks, fumbled a couple of times. And so none of that show up on the stat sheet in the box score. But that's losing football. But all the fantasy football guys see at the end is like, Oh, he threw for 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, and the pick. That he's good. They just need more help. Like, no, he the reason why they lost. Like, so same thing with you see a lot of, and because UNC has talent. They shouldn't have lost to Virginia. Credit to Virginia for winning that game. No. But you shouldn't lose to Virginia if you got a quarterback that's a top 5 pick, right? That's like Jaden Daniels and them going out to Missouri and losing to Missouri. You don't that doesn't happen. Or not even Missouri, losing to
Virginia even worse.
I'm sorry, Missouri is good. Losing to Vanderbilt. You don't go out and lose to Vanderbilt. So, that's and again, he's young, but I feel like what happens a lot, and the reason, and this is no fault of Drake May, we all sat down during COVID and we're watching that game against Florida A&M, and from Florida and half their team was academically ineligible, found out day of the game. So half the team was up there, the other half back at Tallahassee, and they're going back and forth. It's a great game, and it was the first time we all got to watch Drake May as a freshman. It was like, man, this dude's killing it. He was good, but you're not realizing, like, why are they going back and forth with Florida A&M? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the problem. And that's something that you.
But that was on the defense too, though, Emory. Like, that North Carolina defense was giving up a lot of points.
But you have to really put that out there. You gotta, if you were Jaden Daniels in that situation, you don't see them going back and forth with Georgia State. You know what I'm saying? So if you're Drake May, you got to really put this thing out of. There's drives that didn't end in touchdowns that you allowed FAMU to get back out there and move the ball on your sieve defense. So. I just feel like there's a lot of, like, even in the Clemson game this year, he started out great, had a beautiful throw down the sideline, had some great throws in the first quarter, and then went ice cold for like 2.5 quarters after that. And by that time, in the fourth, is out of reach. It's like, what happened? So you want to see him be consistent across 4 quarters in the big games, like we hadn't seen yet from him at North Carolina.
Hey, Emory, it's so interesting because you have colleagues that are obsessed with Drake May and really love him, and one of those colleagues happens to be Rick Spielman, who helped the Commanders with their process. And it's just so weird how we all see the game so differently. But I just feel like some people aren't really calling it like how you are, with focusing necessarily on the film. A lot of guys, I guess, when it comes to May in particular, they focus on the potential, or even with JJ McCarthy, it's like, yeah, well, he didn't have to do this. So, we really don't know. I feel like the risk is higher on the Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, more so than the JJ McCarthy. But that's just a lack of film because he didn't pass the ball. So it's just really intriguing, man. I guess that's why we appreciate you coming on and having these conversations, because we get to hear so many different opinions and view how people view tape. But like I said, a lot of your colleagues are in love with Drake May. You would think they're a teenage girl and Justin Bieber just came out for the first time.
Hey, it happens. It happens, bro. Like, it's just he don't like that man Drake. It is what it is.
No, he don't. Because there's people that love Jaden as much as people love Drake May.
Yeah. Hey, Emory, man, I wanna appreciate your time, boss. This quarterback conversation was fun. Maybe in a few weeks, like right close to the draft, we can talk other prospects. But I definitely appreciate your time talking your top 5 and even JJ McCarthy. If anything you want to promote, schedule anything, or I said schedule. I don't know why I said that. Anything you want to promote, put it out there. Floor is yours, boss.
Hey, I appreciate y'all bringing me on, and I want everybody to know our draft guide is out right now. So it has 900 individual scouting reports. You can go get it at footballgameplan.com/2024 draft guide. It helps you through the draft, after the draft, all throughout the season, because again, 900 individual scouting reports is the largest draft guide out there. So guys that pop up on a roster end up being on the practice squad. Best believe we got a scout report on them, and you can get all my full thoughts on 88 quarterbacks I graded this year. So it's a bunch of guys that I have in there and a bunch of prospects across the different positions. So go check that out. footballgameplan.com/2024 draft guide. It's a PDF file. So as soon as you order, it'll be right in your inbox.
Boom. There it is, man. Emory, again, take care, boss, man. Stay safe. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games. the tournament games coming up too. It's some good women's
the
and
UFL games. I might be down in DC catching all the Defenders
UFL.
games. So I'm all football.
So they home this weekend too. Yeah, that's not bad, bro.
We need a scouting report for the Defenders too, Emory. You gotta get that.
I got y'all locked up. That's why you think all these scouting reports. Half these dudes gonna be in the league anyway.
Hey, there you go. Hey, we need the exclusive on Swearinger. That's what we need. You know? All right, boss man. Hey, take care, man. Be safe.
Have a good one, guys.
You see Swearinger get they did a fake punt and the center caught a damn pass on him.
I ain't even see that. I ain't even see that, bro.
Yeah.
Where's the? Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I ain't even see that. All I saw that game was first off, San Antonio wasn't fucking around with them boys, bro. I saw most of the game, but they weren't fucking around with them boys, bro.
Who playing quarterback for the Defenders?
It's still Tamu from last year.
Still him? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
he's still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they was that offense in San Antonio was just running right through them boys. They had an answer for every coverage that Greg Williams threw out there. Where are we at? All right, again, like I said, like Emory said, go ahead and check out his scouting report, 900 pages or 900 athletes. Damn, 900 athletes, bro. It's
a lot.
Crazy work. Shout out to him and his team for getting that done. I may want to try. I want to try and join the team, bro. I got to put my.
Hey, look.
I put my unit somewhere, bro. I don't know, man.
Emory in the front office, man. He doing work.
Like I said, man,
he need to be in the front office.
Emory is a football savant. Like to be spending that much time breaking down individuals, whether it be from Power 5 or HBCUs or small schools, like that's a lot of work, man.
It is.
Look, I
commend anybody.
I'm about to say I love the Jordan Travis love he was showing. I don't know if I agree with him. I mean, because Jordan Travis, he had the injury for one. I mean, that's a significant injury. And before the injury, I didn't know or didn't see anything beyond or higher than the third round, projection for him. Maybe a second round. I mean, because he did really come on. But again, he was like that example and that kind of question that I asked him. Like Jordan Travis is an example of a guy who stayed around for years until he became that quarterback that, was that guy that could take his team to a championship. Because when he first started, and Emory kind of touched on this, Jordan Travis, I didn't want him to do anything but run. So it just goes to show you after a couple of years, man, this dude was on point as a passer, man, the progression he showed.
Yeah.
I definitely. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it was a strange. It was from. I wouldn't say strange. It was unique because I've never even considered Travis even being close to like a top 5 quarterback prospect. And also interesting, like we didn't even hear about Penix. We don't know where Penix was for him.
I wanted to ask him about that too. I forgot to.
Yeah. What was you gonna say?
I think that's the beauty of all of this, man. Everybody looks at film differently. Mual, as you break down film of the Commanders, Mark Bullock looks at it differently than what's the guy named Nick Aldridge does, or whoever else is out there breaking down film. I personally don't have Jordan Travis remotely close to even my top 10 of quarterbacks. I'm not even a fan of Spencer Rattler. But at the end of the day, we agreed on Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. But yeah, I just think what's going on right now is you're starting to see the truth about these prospects starting to come out a little bit more. You're seeing Michael Penix's name get floated around a bit more as far as like potentially going to the Giants or the Raiders, more first round talk. You're still hearing the little buzz of JJ McCarthy and Drake May, but I think that all fizzle out here real soon. Reality is, man, if you take some of those boys, you probably be without a job in 2 years. So,
what's crazy though, and I'm just gonna say this real quick, but what's crazy is that we talk about the discourse of all of these quarterbacks. Can you imagine what it's like for their own front office? I mean, I'm pretty sure they may have an idea of what direction they're going in, but you got to imagine that from the scouts all the way up into the front office members, even Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, everyone probably has a different preference as to who they would like to go along with, whether it be May or Daniels. I'm quite sure that not everyone is 100% in collaboration on, man, this is definitely the guy. I'm sure it's really a hard decision for those dudes, man.
Man, Dre, what's interesting today, I ended up randomly catching the clip. Draymond Green interviewed Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban was breaking down the decision on how they came to drafting Luka Doncic. Mark Cuban pretty much said that his scouting department said that they should go elsewhere, like player-wise. The analytics department said the analytics department said Luka Doncic, and Mark Cuban is the one who executed the trade directly with the Atlanta Hawks owner. Like, so that's why it's like it's a bit interesting. Like sometimes it's okay to meddle in. You know, like a lot of people gave Daniel Snyder hell, you know, for his image, but that's just the reality of ownership in sports. Like these owners gonna do whatever the hell they want. They gonna do what they feel fits best for what they view. And NFL owners are very involved in this process too. So I think alongside just what can be done on the field from a marketing standpoint, if you know the toss up is Jaden Daniels, Drake May, or JJ McCarthy, which I believe is horseshit, I think that Jaden Daniels fits the bill exactly for what you want within this audience's demographic, and you got a guy like Lamar Jackson who has, you know, that dual threat ability right down the street. You got to be able to compete with.
All right, let's get into our prospect spotlights. We got 3 now. Grant, I meant to tell y'all this in the chat. We don't have to limit this to just one player. We only got 3 weeks to the draft, so you can. I ain't gonna say do 5, but 2, maybe 3. Go for it. But I know we got our players today, so I'm gonna give y'all the floor first on y'all prospect spotlights. Who's on y'all mind in terms of a player that y'all really like coming out of this draft that y'all want to put the people on to?
Well, I guess I'll go first, man. My guy, as we were talking about the wide receiver position earlier, I'm really high on Malachi Corley. I mean, Malachi Corley, I feel like he's what we wanted Antonio Gibson to kind of be here, you know, in a sense. I mean, he plays that role. He's not a guy that's going to really beat you downfield in a sense, but he's that weapon, that explosive weapon that you can line up in the backfield. You could play at the slot, or you can, you know, just keep around. I mean, almost in the sense of, I mean, his actually a lot of people comp him to Deebo Samuel, which is a great comp because he's really great yards after the catch. I mean, he's great with the ball in his hands. Also, I think another good comp for him is Rashee Rice. I mean, just those type of guys, though, that can work in a short area and they can just find a way to get yards. I mean, you can never go wrong with an explosive target like that. I mean, one of his weaknesses, obviously, if his strengths is kind of the short game, his weaknesses is kind of the contested catch. And he doesn't really track the ball well downfield. But honestly, I mean, you got a couple of guys that has a good contested catch rate. I think Jahan Dotson is pretty good, but that Terry is damn good at contested catch. I want a guy that can give you a compliment to what you already have. I want a guy that you kind of don't really have out there already that has a different strength. Now, Malachi Corley, he can go somewhere and be a bust. Now, that's if you're expecting something different out of him. But if you can carve out this specific role for him, I think his bust potential is very low. I think the floor is really high for him if you carve out that specific role for him. And like I said, I think he can help any offense, man. And right now, I mean, going through a lot of the mock drafts, I've seen him mocked anywhere between the 3rd and the 5th round. And obviously, we have an abundance of picks. So this is a guy I would love to add, man. I would definitely take him with one of those 3rd round picks. And he's a guy I think that could be an impact player right away on this offense because of his skill set.
What you thinking, AJ? Who's your spotlight?
I thought Dre might have a couple more guys, but I mean, if we can go outside of just one,
I'll have more. I thought it was just one today.
Okay.
Yeah. I should have said something.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, the guys that I'm going to mention, I feel like fit perfectly within Washington's organization, their scheme, and what the offense and the defensive side of the ball are asking for. But it's 2. I'll name 5 guys in total, but 2 of these guys actually are teammates at Colorado State. One is the tight end, Dalen Hooker. I feel like he has great potential in the league as far as being surrounded around other talent at the quarterback position and wide receiver position, and especially with what Kingsbury is going to be running, which is a lot of 10 personnel. Also being able to get mentored by Zach Ertz. I feel like he's a solid pass catcher. He runs good enough routes. He could learn a little bit more how to maneuver in between the zones and reading coverage a bit. But this is a guy that I feel like can make every catch on the field and is a solid player overall. Someone that you could possibly get late third round, fourth round at tight end. We kind of know that the 49ers in the past have hit on tight ends, such as George Kittle coming out of Iowa. He was more so a blocking guy, but they turned him into a receiving threat, and he's still a blocking guy today. But Dalen Hooker is one of those guys that I look forward to possibly adding to this team at the tight end position. I know a lot of people have mentioned Sanders from Texas. He don't have the athleticism, in my opinion, that I would want to put in the fold. But yeah.
Before you get to your next player, I want to talk on Sanders. I'm gonna be quick because you got a few players. I do have thoughts on Dallin too. I think that Dallin is a person who can definitely come in here in Washington and be good. I know you mentioned him in terms of your tight ends. I don't have a problem with Dallin. I think for some of the concerns that you listed, on top of some that I have, like press, like when he's aligned out wide and his release plans, like I think that was something that I noticed that he has to work on too. I don't think that's like even with Cole Turner when he came out 2 years ago, like some of those negatives that some of these guys have, I think that you could work on in the league as a developmental player. And for Dallin, I think it's some things with his route phases, but overall, as a pass catcher, even after the catch, he's very good. He's much better after the catch than Jatavian Sanders. And I think that's the one thing that I wanted to point out. Like Sanders is like he looks the part, but I don't think that you're a complete tight end if you can't play in line. And only thing you do bring to the field or to the table is the fact that you are a really good receiver. But I think it's just limited. You're not that explosive, or you're not explosive like and not necessarily a game changer in a particular way. And I think that's what really halts me from saying, like, how can I trust a guy who can't play in line and is limited, especially after the catch too? Like he can catch the football, but like even after the catch, like he's not a strong yak guy. Like he goes down pretty easily. He doesn't really fight for yards, and he's not competitive in the run game either. So like I don't want to like trash him, but I'm saying like the reason why I had to call him out on in my thoughts was like I see so many people mocking Ben Sinnott and Jatavian Sanders to Washington. I'm like, I don't see what y'all see. I would prefer other guys. Hoker is one of them, and Wiley is another one. But I know you got more players.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with everything Mual broke down in regards of Sanders. I think a lot of people just look at that size and immediately fall in love, but the film, you don't see no wiggle from that man, nothing. So, but on to the next guy, another Colorado State defensive end by the name of Muhammad Kamara. Boy, talk about a motor. Like, he is relentless pursuing the quarterback. He is going to go get that player. Like, I think he fits perfectly within the rotation that they're trying to establish at pass rusher. A lot of people got to see the breakout game that he had against Colorado, going against Shedeur Sanders and such. But overall, he has a high motor. Kind of reminds me of a Max Crosby in a sense, motor-wise, and how he uses his hands. I would love to see him in the fold in the rotation with the Dante Fowlers of the world, Dorrance Armstrong, I guess KJ Henry, Andre Jones, if they end up making the squad. Another pass rusher out of Clemson who was one of the top players coming out of high school, who I feel is extremely twitchy, is Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas definitely has the opportunity to be a third down specialist within the league immediately. Maybe not an every down guy, but he has great bend coming off the edge. Definitely knows how to translate speed to power. That's someone that I'm interested in. I think I've already named 3 guys so far. Another one of my favorites is Peyton Wilson, the linebacker out of North Carolina State, 6'4", 235, 240. I think he ran like a 4.5 in the 40. Only issue you have with him in his game is his injury history, but he's proven to be healthy, fluid linebacker that can literally play any position on the field, kind of like Luvu in a sense. He can play middle linebacker, he can play weak side, he can even get down and play DN. That's a guy that I hear is moving up the ranks. Might be the only linebacker that's taken in the first round. But if he's there in the second round, shit, I might take Peyton Wilson before I take a damn offensive tackle. Because I feel like he has star potential. Like, if he continues to stay healthy and really get put in a system like Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., what they got going on, that's a superstar immediately. And last one for me.
Now don't burn out. We still got 3 more episodes.
Yeah, we got more. We got more.
I got a lot of prospects, man, that I like in this draft. I feel like there's a lot of talent in the first 3 rounds of this draft, and even into the 4th round. There's a lot of guys that could help this team, especially with how they moved on from a group of these Ron Rivera guys, and now trying to identify their own thing. But the last guy is Nubin, Tyler Nubin, free safety out of Minnesota. Yeah, that boy knows how to read coverages and break on the ball and make plays. He's a ball hog. I would love to be able to get him into the mix of what they got going on, especially when you're going to have such an aggressive approach pass rushing wise. So yeah, those are my guys, man. At the end of the day, I'm so excited for this draft. It's been a minute since I've been excited for a draft. I don't necessarily know everything that's going to happen. I feel kind of confident that they're going to move back into the first round, but that's all dependent on how many offensive linemen, wide receivers end up going in this draft in the early stages. But, ultimately you got to hit on that quarterback. So,
hey, look, I was just going to say real quick, I wanted to comment on Jay Tyler's post about Johnny Wilson. Of course, being a Florida State guy, my ears perk up whenever I see a Florida State guy mentioned. But with Johnny Wilson, I mean, freak size. I mean, the guy's 6'7" at wide receiver. Now, one of the things that will frustrate you as a fan watching Johnny Wilson is that he doesn't always play true to his size. I mean, that's one of the things that kind of bother me sometimes. Like, sometimes you may even catch yourself saying, man, that was a little soft right there, Johnny. But what he kind of lacks in that department, he makes up for with kind of his incredible athleticism and, certain things he can do with that size that you probably shouldn't be doing at that size. So, I mean, Johnny's definitely a guy I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on in the 3rd round either, because like I said, you can't coach that size, and he got skills and ability at that size that a lot of people normally don't have, but you may be frustrated sometimes that he can play a little soft.
Hey, Dre, why hasn't Johnny Wilson tried to bulk up and just play tight end? He possibly could be the second tight end taken off this draft immediately, just off the potential alone and his size.
I mean, I guess because he still can play effectively at wide receiver. Like, he's not one of those guys that kind of struggles in a sense to get separation a lot of times. I mean, it can be an issue with that sometimes, but I think what you probably see he isn't doing the tight end thing is he's not that physical either. And that tight end, you do have to be a little bit more physical to play that position. But it's something that may have to be explored for him going into the future with the NFL. You may have NFL teams kind of suggest that to him as his career progresses.
Man, get your soft ass off the field.
Hey, that's funny.
6'7", 2 something, wasted talent, wasted height, size. Everything.
Funny enough, like, if you're gonna convert him to tight end, what makes you think you're gonna get tougher? You might as well keep him.
That's the thing, Ray J.
No, I'm saying for him, as far as draft position, I don't know what he could be in the league as far as like at tight end, but if that were my client, I'd be like, hey, man, we're going to work out at tight end, because I feel like it could move you up the chart as far as where you get drafted. Right now, if we just strictly looking at wide receiver, there's a shit ton of wide receivers way better than him and that you would bank on, because you mentioned the soft demeanor play-wise. That boy can't catch the ball consistently.
Yeah, I mean, that's the knock. I mean, but if you want a tight end, and I'm gonna give Mual a guy to look at. I don't know if Mual has checked them out yet, but Florida State. Hey, we on the subject of Florida State. Jaheim Bell. Like,
you already put out the report on him.
Oh,
my dog, bro.
I'm gonna have to check out your report on him, man. But
I'm gonna send it to the. I'm gonna send it to the YouTube chat for everybody that's already in here. But yeah, I did
Maul
want to
was
hog
sounding
save him.
Floyd Mayweather just now.
I like Jaheim, bro. Like I think the best. So granted, like he's not the best with his hands. And that's one thing, but like he would thrive in a vertical offense. Like he can run you your crossers, your overs. He can run your seam routes, right? I think that he has the foot speed to separate. Like he's an explosive athlete. Like we talking about Jatavian or Jaheim. Jaheim is way more explosive. He's physical after the catch. He had reps at South Carolina as a running back. He had like 30 carries at South Carolina, and that's not to say that he should be running the football, but it's like he's tough and he knows how to move after with the ball in his hands. And then he's physical in line as a blocker. So like everything that people want in Jatavian, I'm like, how do y'all see Jatavian and not look at Jaheim, bro? Like you're gonna suffer a little bit as a pass catcher, but he brings you everything that you would want in a tight end, and maybe he gets better as a tight end as a pass catcher. But like he got that shit, and I'm impressed with Jaheim, bro.
I'm glad you like them all. And then my last little Florida State plug I'm going to give y'all is, of course, y'all already know who he is. Keon Coleman. That's a guy I do think a lot of people are sleeping on in terms of some of the top wide receivers in this draft because he can do it all. I mean, he's, to me, he's one of the top in athletic receivers in his draft. He's 6'4". He's played punt return for Florida State. I mean, he's great with the ball after the catch. He's one of the better contested catches guys. And he's so athletic when the ball's in the air. He can attack the ball. I mean, I'm still kind of confused as to why he's not talked up a little bit more. Because even when Florida State played LSU earlier in the year, Malik Neighbors was the talk of the town, but Keon Coleman was the best wide receiver in that game. So that's one guy I think a lot of people sleeping on. I
think Keon still goes first round. You know how it is, and it all depends on how the board plays out. None of us thought that Jahan Dotson was going to go 16 overall, but because there was a run on wide receivers, it pushed everybody up the board, such as Treylon Burks and Jahan Dotson, the Christian Watsons of the world. So I expect a bunch of wide receivers to go within those first 10 picks. So that definitely puts Keon Coleman in a great position to get drafted. Even Xavier Worthy, like, he's fast, but you don't really see a lot of it too much on film. But just that 40 alone could push him up there as a deep ball threat.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll close out with oh damn, I done left mine. Let's see if I found it. So JC Latham was the guy I was looking at. I don't know where he's gonna place. That doesn't bother me, or it's not a thing to me. There's a couple other tackles that I'm interested in, but tonight JC is the person I'm gonna speak on. I think that for all that he struggles with athletically, and specifically what I mean by that is like I don't think that he has the best foot speed. I don't think he has the best like lateral movement or lateral quickness, right? I think that he's a effective pass protector. I think that he uses his hands really good. And what I mean by that, like his strike timing, the power that he brings when he does get engaged, I think is impressive. I think that he can handle most things, speed and power. I just think what he struggles in is sometimes is like line games and just seeing the field at an appropriate speed, like the play speed. It can be a little bit fast for him sometimes. And what I mean by that is like just picking up stunts, picking up line games, like that can get him out of position more times than anything else. There's tackles who come into the league who aren't necessarily good with keeping their chest clean. And I think that JC does that really good. And he uses his hands throughout the entire engagement, as opposed to just like trying to lock in and just try to steer the defender, which necessarily isn't always a bad thing, but sometimes that can get you out of position or cause a holding or something like that. So JC is strong in the run game as well. And I think that's what you want out of a balanced person. Like he's good at gap scheme. He's okay in zone scheme, but better in gap scheme. He can win those one-on-ones. He could dominate one-on-ones. He could dominate double teams. And like he's a tone setter for your offensive line. And I think you can use that at left tackle. You use that at right tackle. I don't know what the plan would be if Washington was to draft him. I would be comfortable with him at right tackle or interior. But definitely right tackle. I don't know again how that's going to work out. But for sure, J.C. Latham is a guy that I like at offensive tackle. Doesn't matter if he comes to Washington or not. I think that he'll have a pretty good career in the NFL. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Who's this? Oh, he's talking about the tight end Tip Reedman from Illinois. I don't know who that is. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know who that is, bro.
Well, we gotta find out who he is. I haven't seen much of him even all. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Illinois games last year. I'm gonna take my man's point, man. I'm gonna have to look into him because 6'7", 274. That's a
Hey, Mual.
What's up, bro?
Anuki bought Emory's
Oh, the game, the football, the game plan. It's draft guy.
I'm about to buy it too.
Sean
I'm with him.
Miller,
Hey, I'm gonna have some more names for y'all next week
bro.
off that book.
But he definitely got one right just now too. Kyron A.
From Yale.
We'll call him Kyron A. He got a Nigerian last name. Ended up tearing his quad earlier in the season, but yeah, he's definitely a beast. I love how he plays. If someone's willing to take that risk on it, I still think he goes second round. He's a solid player. He could play left or right tackle, honestly, but specifically left tackle.
All right, boom. There it is. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up for us tonight. Everybody who stayed in from start to finish, man, we appreciate y'all watching. Again, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, like as well. Give us some comments if you're watching a little bit late. Let us know what you think about Emory, his quarterback rankings and things like that. We are not done with draft talk this week. We got a special guest coming on. You'll know when we put that thing on live.
Say the name, bro.
Nah,
Don't be scared.
I don't do that. I don't do that. We gonna lock everything when everything is done and official. But yeah, we're gonna have another guest coming up. So
don't be scared, Mo. Don't be scared.
We're gonna talk to him.
He got burned too many times.
Yeah, I ain't doing that, bro. I got a hardened shell, bro. But we're not done. Yeah, we got one more this week, and we got some more next week. So with all that being said, y'all stay safe. If you haven't seen the last Drake May film session, I put it out on Saturday or Sunday. So y'all take a look at that, how he handles pressure in the pocket. That's a good one. I didn't do too much promoting on it, but we're gonna do that right now. But yeah, y'all stay safe, enjoy y'all week, and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Peace.